signal now. For when I'm needed. But when that light hits the sky, it's not just a call. It's a warning. To them.
So the Batman's 2 years away, and we are in love with Matt Reeves' Gothamverse. I mean, Batman Part 1 and the Penguin series were both written beautifully. And the fact that we have to wait 2 years for another great story by Matt Reeves, I mean, we can wait. We can be patient for a great story on the level of the Batman and the Penguin. But still, we need something to satiate our hunger for more. And I believe I found a solution. The Clayface. One of many show ideas that I feel Matt Reeves can tackle that can be written just as great as the Penguin series, that will talk about sort of the middle ground, like the middle time between after the flood and before the events of the Batman Part 2, the way the Penguin series kind of was. I mean, Matt Reeves explicitly said that the Penguin series will directly lead into the Batman Part 2, that it will affect the events of the Batman Part 2. So it kind of makes sense why the Penguin series was so good, because it wasn't just a show about an infamous Gotham character, an infamous Batman character. No, it was a story that pushed the narrative of the Batman/Gothamverse forward. Sort of like how the first 10 years of the MCU, everything that was coming out of it was to push the overall story of them getting to Thanos, and then, you know, them beating Thanos, instead of just making a show about a character because they can. And the Clayface series could be one of those shows, like a show to push the narrative forward of the overall Gothamverse that Matt Reeves has in his hands. Because I trust and believe in Matt Reeves, and I believe he could tell a good story about Clayface / a grounded portrayal of the character, since the Golden Age Clayface didn't really have powers. So it could be that version of Clayface that could have a sort of like a crime thriller mystery story wrapped around him. But how could such a story push the narrative forward? Well, I'm thinking that this story could like low-key be the GCPD show that they were trying to do, but WB didn't like greenlit. I feel like if you name the show The Clayface, having it, you know, named after an infamous Gotham villain, Batman villain, then you have your green light there, because after the success of the Penguin, I feel WB's just ready to greenlit anything that Matt Reeves hands them. And yeah, it could be, you know, sort of like focus on Jim Gordon. He could be our main character. We can follow things through his eyes. There could be like a spree of killings going on, and for whatever reason, Jim is unable to get the aid of, you know, Batman, because he's kind of busy with the events of the flood. So he figures, well, I'm, you know, a competent guy. I'm a freaking detective / police officer. I should be able to handle this on my own. And I have, you know, the aid of other officers who I still am sort of like debating if I can trust, because of the whole GCPD's full of corrupt officers thing. But that could also be another twist in the show of like, who can Jim trust? Because like with, you know, Clayface's whole thing being that he can disguise himself as whoever, you could have these officers who are, you know, purposefully messing up the case, and it could be in the viewer and audience minds on like a debate going on whether or not this officer is doing it because he is either corrupt, or he's Clayface, or he could just be, you know, a dumb police officer. Either way, it will keep the audience guessing and continuing to watch to find out the twists and reveals and overall drama of the show. You could have him form a team of people he thinks he can trust, as well as people he knows he can't trust, but is just bringing them along to kind of, you know, have like a connection into the cops who are corrupt. So you could have like officers like Arnold Flass or Harvey Bullock, cops who like ride the line between straight and crooked, and he could just, you know, be using them to get information on cops who are corrupt. And then there could be like an officer he truly trusts, who believes is completely straight, Renee Montoya, who down the line does some stuff that is a bit sketchy, which makes him believe maybe he can't trust any officers in the GCPD. Either way, this story could be like, you know, following the kills of Clayface, but could be low-key a Jim Gordon show, seeing his rise to becoming Commissioner Gordon at the start of Batman Part 2. And what could make this overall mystery even more impactful to fans of the comics is that it could involve every iteration of Clayface from the comics, from like Sandra Fuller, Matt Hagen, Cassius Payne, and of course Basil Carlos. Like every iteration of Clayface could be a character in the show, and it could just keep the audience who are, you know, very knowledgeable about the comics guessing on who the actual Clayface is going to be, or maybe it could be all of them secretly working together, or a select few. It'll just keep the mystery juicy and keep people tuning in. And lastly, with relating to the Renee Montoya character, we talked about her doing sketchy and maybe sketchier things towards the middle of the show. You could have the show end with her becoming the Question, as she does in the comics. Like the Question being sort of a Rorschach type DC character, you know, very mysterious with the whole face thing over their normal face to make it look like they have like a blank face. You know, we're dealing with Clayface. So Clayface is probably gonna have like, you know, mask of various people to kind of like, you know, make up for not having shape-shifting powers. So it's gonna sort of be like a Mission Impossible type thing. And you could say like Renee takes one of these like masks, but it's like blank. It doesn't have anyone's, you know, visual image, like facial image on it. So it's just like a blank mask that doesn't even have like eye holes, nose holes, or whatever, just like how it is in the comics. And then she puts it on and decides to sort of do some vigilante justice, as she is inspired by Batman to take the law into her own hands, because the way the law is, whether it's because of crooked cops or just all these red tape that you have to go through to, like, you know, actually get justice, but like the, you know, politicians, judges, whatever, as revealed in Batman Part 1, are also crooked. She feels, no, Batman has the right idea. We have to put the law into our own hands if we're actually going to get justice for the innocent people of Gotham. So that's kind of something she'll butt heads with, you know, Jim Gordon with, but at the same time, because, you know, Jim is like friends slash partners with Batman, he'll sort of like ignore it as long as she doesn't kill people. He'll see her still on the right side of the law. And yeah, this could just overall be a story about Jim becoming Commissioner Jim Gordon like he is in the comics, and having him be that for the Batman Part 2. That way, by pushing the narrative forward and making the story meaningful, impactful to the overall Gothamverse, and, you know, written great, because it'll be an overall mystery story, crime thriller mystery story with just a bunch of twists and turns that will just keep the audience guessing and keep them tuning in and just loving all the reveals. So that's my idea on how they can do a Clayface series, calling it the Clayface series, kind of to like keep up with the whole running gag of the Batman, the Penguin, you know, make it even more pronounced for this Gothamverse. If you have your ideas on how they can tackle a grounded but, you know, still fantastical in its own right Clayface, then please comment it so down below. Ring that notification bell for more videos like this, as I will be making more on how they can tell these amazing grounded stories of these various Batman characters. And like, share, subscribe, and follow if you enjoyed this video. Until the next video, stay great.